Yeah, we're back with episode, I always fucking forget, I think 69 and Drop the Journey. It's the last day in Bali. We're doing a Q&A. I put questions on Instagram and Twitter, got a lot of them. We'll try and get through most of the good ones, see how far we get. Some might be terrible or duplicates. Tristan, who I was on his podcast this time last year. Similar setup. I think this view's outdoing the last one. He's going to ask me the questions. And then he's got some at the end from his audience, I think, that we might go through as well. But
Yeah.
hopefully it's useful or insightful to people. And I'll try and be honest. And hopefully the wind doesn't fuck up these mics.
Oh, we'll edit it otherwise. All right. First question. Let's see.
And I look fat as fuck in this shirt. I realised. I think I put on about 3 kilos in Bali, which is the opposite of my attention. But anyway.
This is a relevant one that you've been thinking about a lot. I feel like. What's your current thoughts on living abroad versus staying in the UK?
What, for me or for someone else?
What's your current thoughts?
My current thoughts are I've lived in central London as a base for the past 5 years. I'm categorically done with central London. I don't know if that necessarily means I'm categorically done with the UK or greater London as a base. I do think that it's quite good. I also don't think somewhere like Bali is going to be a good base. I wonder if we need the
No, just hold it
wind
close.
things.
Just hold it close.
It'll sound weird.
Hold it close. Hold it
I
close.
don't know the wind things.
If you have them, but I think we'll be fine.
I've got the wind things. Maybe don't need them.
Just hold it close. We'll be fine.
All right, fuck it. Yeah, basically, I'm not sure. A lot of people flock to Dubai, which I used to not get. Now I get a bit more. I think mental health-wise, the UK is objectively bad for me during winter, having spent the last 5 winters there, which is a bit ironic. I think you've got to be based somewhere. Whether that base is London for me going forward, probably not. But I've got a flat in London for the next 3 months. I need to figure out where I'm going to base myself. But I do think there's pros and cons to every place, basically. And you've got to work out what's important to you.
Especially after today's reading. This might not be the...
Yeah. I went to see some fucking spiritual masseuse today. I'm a massive skeptic with all that shit.
Body's getting to him.
It actually blew my mind. She knew everything about my past and current situation, and she didn't know who I was. So there's no way around that other than she's a fucking witch.
And she didn't
And I
like the
believe in
idea
that.
of Bali,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
I think it's not for you.
I'm figuring it out.
Yeah.
Side note, I'm also sweating my ass off because I just had a shower. Next one.
Is it possible to be profitable on the first sale with a D2C brand that has an AOV of under 60 pounds? Very specific.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah, you can do it.
Objectively. I do think it's harder at scale, and it's harder now than it used to be. But it definitely is. That's the short answer.
Yeah. Yeah, my AOV is below 60, so yeah, it is. I'm scaling as well, so you can do it. You just have to be creative.
You think you have to have a very good gross margin, otherwise it's not going to work because you won't have enough CAC.
Yeah.
To make any money.
For sure. Fastest route plus advice on how to go from ID to minimal viable product launch.
Watch all 150 plus episodes of my podcast and then just fucking start.
Yeah.
I'd also probably say get around people that are doing similar shit. Bali's great for that, especially if you're like a beginner, because it'll put pressure on you and you'll realize that it is possible. But ultimately, the best time to start something was 10 years ago. The second best time is now. So you just got to start.
Yeah, I agree. In the beginning, you can think of these big ideas, but it's better to just start and then figure it out than to think of the $1 billion idea and wait 3 years until you
Yeah,
can
I'd
try
always
something.
big fan of just launching something and
Even
figuring
if
it
it's
out
shit.
rather than talking about it for 7 years.
But some people are
A lot of
waiting for
people
like
do.
the perfect opportunity, but then they, like the people that just start, like outrun them in the long term.
Yeah. Definitely. I don't know how quick. There's a lot of questions, so I'm trying to keep the answers fairly
We'll go through them. We'll go
precise
through
and
them.
direct rather than rambling for 20 minutes.
Let's see. Advice to your 18-year-old self.
Ignore anyone that's not doing or has done what you want to do, largely, within your reason. Get out of your hometown, unless that's where you want to be, which it probably isn't if you're listening to these questions. Get around as many people, even if it's online. So get on Twitter. I'd probably join a bunch of Discords and shit, even though a lot of them are bullshit. But I think it's beneficial for people that are like 18. and start something as soon as possible, even if it's tiny. If it's an agency, econ thing, whatever, just start something.
You get going.
Yeah.
Tips to overcome procrastination and keeping focus on a task from start to finish.
Subscribe to Rainbow Dust.
Keeps the focus.
I've genuinely found it harder to focus without having Rainbow Dust for the past month. I haven't had any mushroom ingredients for the past month because I've been in Bali and I was scared to bring it over the border, even though it probably would have been fine because they sell lion's mane and shit here. That's a genuine bit of advice. The other bit of advice I think is just lock your phone away. And I mean, everyone's guilty of procrastinating at times, including me very much. I think just knowing what you need to work on, get good at making a list and then working through the list.
You think
and also finishing tasks before starting other ones, which I'm terrible at.
all over the place.
Yeah, just like solve the problem in front of you, then solve the next one.
You procrastinate more here or in London, you think?
Bit of both.
Bit of both.
Yeah.
Has your own self-identity ever conflicted with your goals? How did you overcome this?
That's a deep question. Yeah, I think it probably has. In two ways, because when I was younger, my identity was like being a flash, arrogant cunt, driving fast cars and stuff, and that doesn't really align with the goal of building a long-term business, because it's like the opposite of delayed gratification. That's a period that I went through, and I think a lot of people go through. The other side of that is when the previous business failed, I stopped feeling like I was capable of doing things, which doesn't align with achieving goals, even though I got on with it and did it and built the next thing. But until you get that momentum again, that was definitely a conflict. And then now, probably to some extent, I don't feel comfortable living like a corporate lifestyle, working in a corporate way. We can look back at the Office video, which I don't know. And sometimes I think, well, how do I build a really big business if I don't want to live or work that way? But I do think you can do it your own way as well. But it's definitely unconventional to think you can build a big business and not have to be in an office 5 days a week or something. There's obviously people that have done it both ways, but sometimes I question, maybe I'm more naturally like a nomad type, but then I also don't think that at the same time. So it's probably a middle ground somewhere that I need to figure out. It doesn't have to be full corporate, one place, live in London, be miserable. And it also doesn't have to be laptop lifestyle in Bali. It could be in between.
I agree.
So I don't know if that answers the question.
Have you been tempted to start another brand with a completely different product?
I'm always tempted. I've always got ideas. I think I'm very good at 0 to 1. I don't know many people that have done 0 to like a few million as many times as me, but I also know plenty of people that have done 0 to much bigger than me in one thing. So that's not to say I've got a better skill set for doing that, but I think my skill set is very 0 to 1. I feel like I could do 0 to 1 in 20 different things, whereas a lot of people I don't think could. But then also a lot of people are better at 1 to 10, 10 to 100 than me, evidently. So yeah, I do always get tempted. I always have ideas, but I learned from the past that trying to do multiple different things at once, don't think really works.
It's also a self-identity thing, with the ADHD brain of wanting to start something new versus building a big business. Like kind of conflicting.
Yeah, I think the answer really is pivot and evolve the existing business rather than just fucking launch a new one.
Yeah.
And all the greatest returns in life come from compounding interest over probably a decade rather than 2-3 years. So that's what I'm trying to do with this one.
You're on your way. What are the drawbacks of building in public and how do you deal with them?
I think the drawbacks most simply are people copy you for 2 reasons. Firstly, when you're quite honest, and I don't share explicit numbers and I probably never will because I think that's net negative. And I also think it's just it lacks class. But I do share like, things are going well. Obviously people can see the product. It's got a lot of customers. They can see it growing on social. They see the ads all the time. They see it in retail or whatever. So they objectively know it's working. So people are like, oh, well, that's working. And because the founder, me, I think a lot of people follow you and like almost think what you're doing is the only way to do it. So they just copy you instead of doing their own thing and doing it in their own way. I don't think anyone that copies anything is ever going to be as good or as far ahead as the person they're copying by definition. But it is annoying. And there's a few examples of people that watch this pod and are probably watching it right now that have pretty much like for like copied my brand, and I know for a fact they have because I've seen the brand. That's probably the biggest drawback. I think the other potential drawback is, well, it's maybe not a drawback, but it's something that has pros and cons, is you put a lot of pressure on yourself when you say you're going to do something and you're in the public domain. It's like if you don't do it or you don't reach the goals, you might look a bit stupid. But at the same time, I think pressure in that way is quite good. But there are plenty of positives. Like I've met a lot of people. I've met investors through building in public. I've met people that I now employ that are on the team through like the pod and stuff. Yeah, there's pros and cons. I don't think it's for everyone. My style is very honest and authentic, which is probably a bit risky at times, but it's also the only way I could do it, because if I wasn't being myself, then it would feel very fake, like most of YouTube. So
It's like selling your soul a little bit.
yeah,
I think the benefits outweigh the negatives, though.
yeah.
This
Well,
one,
he's scaling his Doc the Journey harder than me now.
like the journey, skill.
I might have to fucking trademark that Doc the Journey.
Think
Lots
what
of people now doing it.
even if you don't sell a product, will bring so much back to you in many different ways. Like you said, friends, investors, people, events. We're doing a sick event
Yeah, on the yacht.
on the yacht.
Tickets below if you want to join the yacht. There's a few left.
Little plug.
Yeah.
Like bringing people together. Like it brings back a lot. And the
Yeah,
people that copy you, you're always one step ahead.
Yeah, it's
So
annoying.
the next
but
skill will be in your head, and they
Mm.
don't know.
yeah,
So they can copy your real-time moves, but not what you're working on.
yeah, exactly.
Pink Urus, still coming.
Probably, but I'm kind of over that phase of my life, to be honest. Like, I've got a Tesla now. I'm probably going to get rid of that as well, because I never drive it. I think it'd be cool to get a Pink Urus just for content at some point, but
If you push the
I'm
course
now
a
at
little
the
bit.
age where, yeah, exactly. I'd have to get a Urus then. The practicalities of things come into my mind more than the flashiness, because I've done the flashy car stuff when I was younger. I still really like cars, but I'm definitely over that a little bit. So I don't know, maybe at some point.
What's your biggest obstacle you face in business right now?
I think finding good people and trusting them to do a good enough job so that you can properly delegate, because to scale big, you can't do it yourself. Like, obviously I'm not doing it myself, but I still feel like I do most things largely myself. Like, most of the needle moving things rely on me to some extent still. So I think that's the hardest thing in growing any business, is finding, managing and dealing with people, basically. So I think a lot of founders, especially like in the whole D2C online space, you get so used to just being you and a laptop that the whole human element, which is required as you scale to any level, is quite alien to a lot of us, including me, in terms of like how to properly manage a team.
You think working with recruiters will help find talent? Have you
Yeah, I've
tried
done that before. I've had good and bad experiences with recruiters. I do think a lot of them are very, very, very expensive for what they actually do, which is like make a few email intros. But yeah, ultimately, potentially it is worth it.
Has your best talent come from the pod?
Honestly, yeah.
Okay, that's crazy.
Maybe not
man.
best talent, but like the people I enjoy working with the most. And well, yeah, probably the best talent to some extent. Yeah, because I think with those relationships, like that, if they come to you wanting to work with you or for you, like in these cases they did, it's genuine. So it's not just like they want a job and they'll just fucking take any job. Like they want to work for you.
Specifically.
So it's usually like they're more emotionally bought in.
Exactly. Is Space Goods where you want it to be at the moment? If not, what are the main levers you are pulling to get there?
I don't think it'll ever be where I want it to be, because the goalposts always move. Like, I think if you're satisfied with your business, you're probably a bit too relaxed. I don't know. Or you're just happy and mentally sound, like I'm not a lot of the time. Yeah, I mean, by most people's perceptions, it's doing pretty well. The biggest levers, I think, are new products, which I've been really lazy on, better people, and then scaling outside the UK, which I spoke about, which we are now doing a little bit. So
Which one? Or all of them?
Europe mainly,
Yeah.
Germany in particular.
What would you change in your early 20s mindset if you could go back in time. Let's not do like a failed business. The pod knows about that. Let's do them.
One thing that comes to mind is maybe just like waste less money on stupid flash shit, but at the same time, I did what I did what I did at the time with the information and the desires that I had at the time. So like, I must have wasted 6 figures on, right? I did on like cars and shit. But at the same time, it's sick because I did it, had good memories. I don't know many people that had a Ferrari at 24. I did. It's like fucking stupid shit financially, but it was still cool.
So be less materialistic.
I mean, in hindsight, but I think you have to go through that. At least I did. 'Cause that's just who I was. Maybe a better one is, I wish I stuck with one thing for longer. But again, that wasn't my character. I was very ADHD. Like, I had to probably go through a few things to realize the value in sticking with one thing rather than multiple and so on. I am envious of people and people I know that have done one thing since they were 18, and they've definitely reaped the rewards of that. But that just wasn't me. So I'd maybe say try and meet even more people, because I met a good network, but then I probably got a bit lazy with like getting new experiences and opinions in the past few years. Maybe probably thought I knew it all to some extent.
You mean like get your people that you know involved, or?
Well, as in like, I was fortunate enough to like build a network of like founders and stuff in my early 20s, but after maybe the age of like 23, 24, I stopped meeting new people really, because I thought I knew everyone I needed to know, stopped going to events, stopped traveling as much, and maybe there would have been benefit if I'd gone to South Africa, for example, because I've never been there. So maybe I settled down a little bit too early in terms of like where I was living, etc. But again, hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
You can't really have any regrets, because by default you can't undo it.
Maybe the viewer can learn from it. So this guy asked a lot of questions. Would you consider selling space goods before hitting your number if that meant greater peace of mind?
Is this the entropy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who this guy is. If you're watching,
Good
DM
questions.
me who the fuck you are, because you always have good tweets and you do like a lot of detailed questions. You
It's the
clearly know your
anonymous
shit.
accounts.
He clearly knows his shit. I wonder who he is. Is he some 18-year-old genius? Is he some 50-year-old PE fund manager? I don't know.
Would you consider selling space goods before hitting your number if it would mean peace of mind?
The short answer is yes, potentially, but I'm not interested in selling it right now, and it's obviously only 2 years old. Is that the full question?
Yeah. If that meant greater peace of mind.
Yeah,
So
potentially.
Which you value your money level more than peace of mind, or?
Not as much as I used to.
Yeah.
No, when I was younger, I thought it was all about money. And now I know for a fact it's not, because I've seen people that have made tens of millions and have said that.
Yeah.
So
Or they're
that's
just
based on facts. It's not like they think that it might happen one day. They've said like they regret focusing on just that.
Yeah. Why do you think you're so harsh on yourself?
It's the same guy.
No, another guy.
Didn't he have like 3 questions?
Yeah, but I'll have
cut
to
off?
open them up.
Ah,
yeah.
okay.
Why-
That's fine.
Why do you think you're so harsh on yourself / your mind state so often? Is it because you want growth to happen faster or in different areas of life? Like, why are you so hard on yourself? Do you know where it comes from?
Yeah, I think it comes from comparison. It's because I know a lot of wildly successful people. That is statistically incredibly rare. But that's the downside to surrounding yourself with winners, is that if you're winning slightly less, and how do you even define winning? I mean, I guess my problem is I probably do only value myself on like financial metrics or business metrics. I probably look past the fact that I don't have cancer, I'm healthy, I was born taller than average, other things that are like positives, but I just tend to focus on, well, my best mate's got more money than me. So there's that. I also think I'm just chronically ambitious, which combined with comparison, and I've seen businesses go wrong as well. So that makes me a bit paranoid about wanting to get it right this time.
So that is still like a thing that scares you a little bit.
Yeah, like I didn't used to have that fear at all. It's probably a good thing I do now to an extent, but I think sometimes it's a bit limiting. So let that fear take over.
So you speak a lot about your ups and downs with the brand and
Yeah,
life
too
in
much,
general.
probably. exposed.
Did something change now? Like, do you have any strategies or mindset to stabilize this for yourself or the business?
Ice baths and sun in Bali.
Helps a lot. Eh?
Does help, yeah. Um, I think I'm trying to just think longer term and get perspective on things. The challenge when you're starting a new business in particular is you're basically like day trading every day. Like, you know, if you have one bad day, it fucking ruins your mood. And every founder can probably relate to this, especially e-commerce. You look at your numbers every day and it defines like your self-worth. If you have a bad day, you lose money or something. It's like, fuck this.
Yeah, I try not to look at it.
Yeah. So try and zoom out on things and look at things on a 30-day basis, a quarterly basis, which is very hard to start with because you can't afford to do that. But I can afford to do that now. But I still get very bogged down in the minor details, which you probably always will as a founder to some extent. But yeah, I suppose try and get perspective on things. Look at those people that are less fortunate. Look at, like, there's people dying in fucking, gonna get the facts wrong now, Israel and stuff in Palestine. That's worse than an ad account having CAC slightly higher than usual.
A lot of good problems to have.
Yeah. Yeah, growing pains.
Yeah.
It's not shrinking pains.
So, if you wouldn't have started Space Goods at the time, what else would you have started?
An ice bath brand.
Something you were actually thinking of, though.
Something I was actually thinking of. Well, a lot of people don't know this. I filmed a lot of this. Space Goods was going to be an oral care brand. I actually have footage. I launched
Like
the
the teeth,
website.
like-
Yeah. I was trying to do like an eco-friendly high smile.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show, like, everyone's fucking winging it and figuring it out. Because I launched that because I was so desperate to launch something. This was October 2021, so like 5 months before I launched the brand in the end. I bought a load of stock. I've got videos of me, fat and ugly and depressed. I broke up my ex-girlfriend around that time. I was packing stock into boxes myself because I didn't want to use a 3PL because I didn't want to commit to anything because I wasn't sure if I was interested or not. Then one day I launched it, did like 100 quid in the first day, tiny. And then said, fuck this, I'm not interested in oral care. I'm rushing this. Let's go back to the drawing board. And then about a week later, I decided I was going to do mushrooms.
Product fits the name better.
Yeah.
Oral care.
Yeah.
Space Goods.
I don't know. But just winging it, really.
Yeah. So,
So that was something I was going to do. Other than that, there wasn't really anything I thought about it at the time. In hindsight, I would have done ice bath.
but were you thinking into it very deeply back then? Or was it just whatever you feel like or you think will be nice? Or were you like looking at trends?
No,
because
yeah.
we get a lot of
It was
questions like
pretty
how
deep-
to start
was
a
pretty
brand.
deeply, yeah. I mean, I obviously had a good sense of intuition. Like, I knew I wanted to do something consumable. I wanted something with good gross margin, something that was objectively working in America but hadn't really been done in the UK. Some brands were, like Dirty or so on, but there wasn't huge competition in the UK or Europe. And then, yeah, just the whole trend of like wellness high level, but then functional ingredients and mushrooms in particular felt like good timing. And I think it was good timing. As good timing as you could get, really.
Is there anything you would add on to it? Because there's many questions like how do I start a brand lean? How do I do it? How do I bootstrap a brand? Like, is that one thing you would say is the most important thing? Like, look at the product or what you're gonna sell.
Yeah, I think
So find a winning product first, for example, and
I would
then
just-
brand it
dropship stuff to start.
until you find something that works.
I didn't do that with this. In hindsight, maybe I should have done, but it worked out.
You went for stock straight away, is
Yeah,
what you're saying.
yeah. But yeah, I probably would just, if I was starting now from scratch, I'd just try and find something that was so clearly a winning product and then try and build a brand off the back of that. But only when you've got proof points and only when you can generate like profitable sales.
Yeah. Something I should have done in hindsight. I got like a winning niche and then I was like, I'll make it work.
Yeah.
But it took me 3 years.
Yeah.
Better to find
it's
a winning
working,
product first. How do you work with people who don't work as hard as you?
Well, I think, to be honest, people that don't work as hard as you is probably most people that work for you or on your team in reality, and you shouldn't expect them to work as hard as you. I guess it's hard to get your head around that sometimes. But again, it comes back to the hard thing about dealing with people is they're not machines or robots. Like, they all have their own lives and shit they care about. And yeah, it's hard. I struggle with it now. How do you like genuinely motivate a team? How do you know they are doing enough, especially if it's a remote team. And how do you keep them motivated enough to want to work for the business longer term? Because that's what you need really to grow something.
Hmm.
You need ultimately people to fucking deliver the plan.
Hmm. So that's something you're trying to figure out still as
Yeah.
you go. Something people don't realize is that even the people you look up to are just winging it.
I think everyone's winning it.
I always thought that people had figured it out, and I was like, if I'm there, like, I know it.
Yeah.
But then when I meet more and more people that are doing the thing I wanted to be doing, I'm like, they're just. Doing the
There's
same
always
thing
a
as
new
me.
set of figuring shit out.
It's always a new problem,
Yeah.
new thing to solve. All right, those are the questions.
Well done.
I mean,
There's loads more, no?
I skipped through some of them, but one that keeps coming back we should do is, how are you liking Bali this time?
Yeah, it's good. I've always had a soft spot for Bali.
Yeah.
That's where I first came when I first dropped out of uni and met some people. It's always a small world out here. There's a lot of interesting people. There's like 0 NPCs. I mean, in terms of like people that live here, because by default they have to be doing something a bit different to be living out here. Yeah, I'm flying back tonight, so don't know how I feel about that. Quite looking forward to seeing my dog. Less looking forward to 13 degrees and grey skies.
Should be better.
It's
Should be
depressing.
better.
Should be better because it's nearly June. You would think, but yeah, it's good. I just don't think I could live here, to be honest.
No.
Like full time. I don't know what it is. It just feels like a bit claustrophobic.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good 2-3 months, but
Yeah,
for me,
definitely.
no Bali belly this time.
I had mild Bali belly. It was nowhere near as bad as before.
See,
though.
you get a
I
little
wouldn't
bit
even
more
necessarily call it
immune.
Bali belly. It was just like a barley twinge.
Do you think Rainbow Dust, the main product, is gonna get you to your goal with the brand, or you think other products will be the main driver?
Well, it's a good question, and it's one that I'm always debating. I do think largely that base product in different improved versions, different formats, new countries, new everything will be the main thing, yeah, for now.
Mm.
But it won't be just the current version that you see.
Mm.
But I do think that as a market, like coffee upgrade, is strong. The feedback's very good. The retention's good. People love the product. It could be better, and we are improving it. But yeah, I don't think like gummies or a sleep product are ever going to be as big, to be honest.
Mm.
But there might be something I've not even thought about yet that overtakes it. There's loads of questions though. I thought I sent like.
Yeah, but there's a lot of
How is it?
a lot of repeat questions. This one is good, quite kind of
Well,
relevant.
you can ask your ones after.
Yeah. Anything about TikTok Shop? So there's a guy. It's kind of relevant right now. Are you trying it?
Yeah, I've got someone running it, and it's not going very well. To be completely honest, we've only been on it for like a few weeks. I don't know if it needs more time. So now it's like, well, I don't know if we've given it a fair test. I don't know if the person running it, to be completely honest, is the best person to be running it. And should I try it myself and just fucking go balls deep on it for a month? Or do we just sack it off and focus? Like, there's a lot to be said for focusing on one channel, I think. Just the headspace of doing new shit all the time, I don't think is necessarily net beneficial. But I do see it. I get shiny object syndrome. I see people on Twitter scaling the shit out of it. I'm not sure it's right for my price point and product, but I am trying it. But it's not working right now.
You think you will give them a few months to do it, or?
I don't know if they're watching this, but it's difficult to be paying someone a flat retainer when you're getting no results.
Yeah.
So currently I'm thinking something needs to change or someone else will do it.
We met some guy here that's doing great on TikTok Shop.
Really?
The guy from Breeze.
Oh, Aaron, yeah.
He gave us some good
Yeah,
insights.
he's scaling the fuck out of it. That's a crazy brand.
It was cool to hear.
He's a very, very smart guy. He's
Yeah.
someone that makes me feel very stupid. But nice guy, most importantly.
I'm trying to find this one guy. If you raise again, would you consider trying to lure strategics onto your cap table instead of traditional consumer CPG, VC? So the benefit is their networks, i.e. retail
Yeah.
distribution, that potential PE growth shops have connection to.
Yeah, I have spoke to some strategic angels before. I won't say the name, but one of them was an angel at the biggest food company in the world. I'll let people guess who that is, which would be like a typical strategic. I mean, the answer is yes, potentially. I just haven't thought about it yet because I only raised like 6 months ago, and I'm not planning on raising again anytime soon. But I do have. He actually came from the podcast. This is a guy that's an executive at a massive, like hundreds of £billion company.
It's a big win for the pod.
And he was a customer because he'd watched the pod or something like that. He'd seen my Twitter or something. He knew who I was, and then I had a call with him. So yeah, potentially. Just haven't really thought about it in depth. Yeah.
Why was this not the strategy for the second round?
Don't know. It just didn't happen.
Mm.
Yeah. I think I got very good investors. Are they calling now?
Yeah, but we'll see them coming.
Yeah.
You got very good investors?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, anyone that knows the consumer VC space can just look online at who invested, and
Yeah.
they'll know they're pretty legit.
How soon are you planning on entering the US market? Seems the most logical step for space goods. There's
Yeah.
high quality of customers, deeper pockets, greater market awareness, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it's something that I've personally thought about.
Hello? Mindseat? Is it for the... You pick up?
Bah!
Little Gojek break. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So, we were talking about the US.
Oh yeah, the US. Basically, everyone says that they're amazed how far I've managed to scale, even in just the UK, and it is kind of true because it's a really small market, especially with like largely one SKU. Didn't do US originally though because I wanted to be a UK and European leader, because I mean there's a bigger opportunity to do that than there is to be another one of many in America. That was like the initial thinking. And then I started focusing on the UK. I ended up with investors who are very European focused. And it does change a little bit when you get investors, because it's not about just scaling everywhere as soon as possible. You kind of have to have like the strategy behind it, like what we're trying to do. So right now I'm trying to be a UK leader with a bit of Europe, because the story is, well, if someone bought the business, and we haven't even touched America yet, which might sound a bit weird to a lot of people that are like dropshippers and shit, but that does matter when the goal, I guess, one day is to sell the business. So that's partly why. Also, America is way more competitive. The CAC's way higher. It's not as simple as just launching America. I could do it, but I'm just not doing it right now. It's a focus thing. But Jack from Purdy and Fig came on my pod, much better founder than me. I think their business is doing like 50 million a year. They're just in the UK, just do meta ads, just online.
One product, one channel.
Yeah, it's literally like one product, one everything.
Yeah. And they're crushing it.
So they don't have to do US. I'm sure they could do it later, but I do think there's something to be said for dominating one market rather than being average in a few.
You don't worry about the ceiling?
I think there's a ceiling in the UK, which is why I've launched in Europe.
Exactly.
But I think Europe's a bigger opportunity than America right now.
Yeah.
I really do. Way less competitive, lower CAC. Our CAC in Europe is lower than the UK already. And we've got an English website.
Yeah.
So
much room for improvement.
Europe is pretty much as big as America.
Yeah.
If you look at all the main countries, Germany, Italy, France, Spain, Netherlands, Switzerland, Sweden, blah, blah, blah.
So Europe will be the next focus instead of
I'd
US?
rather dominate Europe
Yeah,
than
exactly.
the US for now, yeah. Basically. That's just my view. I could be wrong, as always, but
Just trying to figure it out.
yeah.
90 days to build a new product business. What are you doing and why?
Well, I'm dropshipping for a start, so there's way lower risk. Honestly, I'd probably launch like a general store, test a bunch of different shit, see quickly what works the best in terms of like the unit economics, the ROAS on ads, blah, blah, blah. Once you get an early sign of life, I'd probably double down on that. Then I'd probably start white labeling or custom branded dropshipping that product until I got decent volume. Then I'd probably go to custom bespoke products. I'd probably do it just on Meta to start with, or TikTok Shop. I haven't cracked TikTok Shop myself, but I'd probably be quite single channel minded. I'd ignore everything else, probably pick one country. You keep it as simple as possible. And yeah, this sounds really easy. It's not really easy, but that's probably what I'd do, high level.
It's easy with the skills you now have. It wouldn't be easy if you start from zero.
Yeah.
What are you training for? Running, weights, current routine? You've been
Yeah,
going
probably-
hard here.
I probably look like I'm training for anything right now. I've been having too many fucking... cinnamon rolls from down the road.
We've been training hard though.
I'm really a bit lost in my training right now because I still have like gold medal syndrome from getting so shredded and going so quick in 2022, which is ridiculous. I sound like the old man that talks about the past his entire life. But yeah, like I was doing some like semi-ultra marathon stuff last year. Then I got into high rocks a little bit, but I haven't really been training enough for that because I've not been consistently going to one gym in one place. I'm at the point now where I probably do need a personal trainer or something. I like running. I think there's always got to be some cardio, and then running's the best cardio in my opinion, at least for me. So right now it's a bit up in the air. I've really been deep in the trenches to the point my physique has taken a back seat, which is a shame. But you can get away with a slightly fleshy physique when you're tanned. You can't get away with that when you're white. So I might have to work on that a little bit more the next few months.
The more nerdy one, something you told me about, which you're happy with right now, is which 3PL in the UK have you had the best experience with?
I probably shouldn't say this. I'm still in a contract with the old one, which is a bit controversial.
Ah, okay.
I'm currently using ShitBob. They've been good so far. If you go to them, say I spoke to you. I've not got a referral link, but I fucking should do.
You'll set it up.
Referring people. I'm currently using ShitBob. It's only been like 3 months. They are pretty good. Way cheaper than the other ones. I think they're all largely the same. I would generally go for one that's the cheapest, to be honest. I think that's going to have the greatest benefit on the business than one that claims to be slightly better, because ultimately they all have to do the same thing, which is shit products.
Yeah.
So.
Those are all of them. We'll do a few ones now for my channel.
All right, sweet.
Some more.
Probably.
Probably.
Questions for me?
Yeah.
All right.
I'll also answer them. So these are like Q&A
Yeah.
questions. Yeah. These are like Q&A questions. So you want to wrap it up?
So you're asking me these?
Yeah.
Right,
And I'll also give my opinion. So they ask me these questions, but I'll ask them to you and then I'll give my opinion.
Well, I'll probably put this in my video anyway.
Yeah, you can also put it in there.
Just keep it rolling.
Yeah. Right, little bonus clip here then. Little bonus question for the monthly Q&A together with Matt. To start out with,
Are these
one,
questions to you? Or
yeah,
me?
to me, but I'll ask them to you and then give my opinion.
Yeah.
So one of them that comes up a lot, and I know you've talked about this before, is like, how do you meet people? Like, how do you get in this?
Are people asking you that now?
Yeah,
Because you used to ask me that.
exactly.
Go to Bali.
How did I do it?
Go to Bali and get on Twitter.
Get on Twitter,
It's
go to
basically
Bali,
that simple.
be open, be honest. Don't try to act like someone you're not.
Mm.
Just share whatever the fuck you're doing. When I came here the first time, it was like, I told people I was going broke and what I was trying to do, and that's why everyone wanted to help me out. Because I wasn't trying to pretend to be someone I'm not.
Mm.
And I think the Dr. Journey has helped a lot with that, because I'm like sharing things raw and honest.
Yeah, definitely.
So I don't know if this fits you guys, but I always advocate for trying to share your journey. So share your journey, be open and honest, and go to places where you think you can find people like that do what you want. For us, it's like ecom people, but maybe for you, it's like fashion, or just try to find a location where that's at and go there. Let's see. Do you think ecom is still a great place to start as an entrepreneur and a vertical?
Yeah,
Or
I think it's the greatest entrepreneurial journey there is, and I think it's also the hardest, which is why most people go and do an agency or do OnlyFans management and some other bullshit like that. What is more all-encompassing business skill-wise than e-commerce? I don't think there is anything really, because you have to think about. Is it gone black? Press it again. Maybe we'll have to pass him forward.
We'll pass
Just hold it down till he comes back on. It was fully charged. Ah, yeah, okay, that one's dead.
We'll pass it.
We're gonna have to pass his over. Yeah, e-com's like product, finance, logistics, customer service, marketing, branding, everything. Like, and it's also a place you can start with like drop shipping and scale up from there. So I think it's like the ultimate crash course in entrepreneurship and also like personal development. Starting an e-com store. So
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't think that what gurus are telling you these days is like true though, where every guru is trying to convince you that their business model is like the best business model. For me, ecom is good, maybe for Matt too, because we're more creatives. Like, we want to create our own thing from scratch. Oh, is there lights? Oh, yeah, we got it. Oh, yeah, that's vibes. We switch it up. So I don't believe in the whole there is one best business model. It works for me because I want to create my own thing. I'm way too like self-minded to be like an agency and building other people's business. And the thing is with ecom, it's probably one of the like quote unquote hardest business models because there's so much moving parts. You have to know about supply chain. You have to figure out how to do customer service, how to do ads, how to do media buying. And so it is, like you say, I think the best thing to learn it all, but you're also probably going to struggle the most to get it off the ground and to build something solid. But if you do manage, then you have something really good, not even the business itself, but also the skill set that you built. So for me, it's definitely, I think, a great place to start, but I'm also very hard-headed. So maybe you're like really into helping other people, or like you're more of a people pleaser, or like it's not good or bad, right? But maybe serving other people works better for you. Me, I just, when I did my agency, you can go back to the videos, I was like fucked. Like I didn't like it at all. So yeah, that is my opinion on it. You got anything more? What were some hardships that you've had and how have you persevered? So specifically into, let's say, starting your first brand.
I think every issue under the sun, not having any money, ad accounts getting disabled, payment processors getting disabled, products arriving wrong, um, doing customer service from a sweaty Spanish Airbnb by myself in 2017 in the literal scale closet. I think basically everything, to be honest. Yeah, it's really hard to start shit, which is why most people don't and can't sustain it. But you get better and stronger as you go on, really. It's a pretty general answer, but I'll let you have the stage.
Some hardships. So for me, I've recently realized, I think, that a lot of the like next levels for you are like behind the things that you don't want to do, right? So if you, because I honestly am very lucky to say that I haven't had any like hardships that weren't self-inflicted. Like I self-inflicted dropping out of school. I self-inflicted starting a business. I self-inflicted going to Bali with no money. Like these are hardships, but I'm like, I don't really classify them as hardships because I chose to do them and I thought they were the best thing to do. So for me, I don't know, maybe trying to make my brand work for like 3 years without seeing any results, I guess. But for me, that was like no question. So I don't think I have had that many hardships. Just I have had to be very perseverant to like figure shit out. With how much money did you did you stop a normal job to start your own brand? So how much money did you have to start Midnight City? How much?
I mean, before that, like I dropped out of uni with like 3 grand to my name, so nothing.
The dropshipping was.
Yeah, this was way back in like 2017. But I just put my back against the wall and figured it out, really. So I think that's what you kind of have to do. And I flew to some event in Singapore, which was like the first time I ever met people doing other entrepreneurial shit. And I've repeatedly mentioned this because I credit it as the turning point from like potentially going down a road of like graduate job, uni that I didn't want, to just actually going all in. And then I never looked back. There's been plenty of ups and downs since then, but that was when it started. So yeah, nothing really.
Yeah, same for me. And I have people always DMing me like, "How do you get money?" This and that. Like, and I always respond like, "If you really want it, you'll make it work." I also didn't have money. I came to Bali with 5,000 euros. That's where my first video started. So you can even go back and look at it. And at some point, I think I loaned maybe like 5,000 euros for my mom because I didn't have money anymore because I was spending it in Bali. And then I met someone that told me I could make ads work for my brand, and I didn't have money to spend on ads. So then I loaned 5,000 euros for my mom, and that's what I spent on ads, and that's what I started with. So if you really want it, you'll find a way. And that's why it's good to start lean, like you say, like start drop shipping, start finding a product first that can make you some money, even if it's like 1,000, 3,000, 4,000 euros per month, and then go from there. A more niche, specific one, but pretty interesting. How do you go about crafting your creatives? Is there like a specific structure that you use? Are you very involved in it? Is it all at an agency? Like, what is the general process?
Yeah, to be fair, I don't really touch like the ad creative process anymore. I probably should, but it's not necessarily my strong point. It's very like analytical. Up to now, we've used a mixture of agency and doing it in-house. We've now recently moved away from agencies, so we're doing it all in-house. It is a lot of systems and structure. Like I don't know how many creatives we have a week, probably like 20 or something, 20 new ones. I don't know. I'm just guessing. It's a lot of spreadsheets and Monday boards, and I don't manage any of that really. But yeah, I think it's just data driven. It's a mixture of creativity, but also data and organization. And ultimately having someone, whether that's you or a team member, running it and just churning out stuff every week, which again probably sounds quite of a fluffy answer, but it's basically just volume. Like probably the most important thing other than the product these days is the creatives. So definitely worth getting right.
And then is it a lot of new, new angles and new concepts, or a lot of iterations mainly?
Sharing a mic now. It's both. So net new concepts. I think we actually need way more net new concepts right now because we've been pushing the same angles for fucking months. But iterations are probably where you find most success, because something that's working, then you can make it work better or make it keep working. Change the hook, change the UGC creator, change the image, whatever it is. But yeah, I think it's a super important part of any business, any ecom brand. It's something I'm trying to nail even more now, with the team and so on. So yeah, that's Sleep on Creatives.
You should join one of the Red Line Creative Nights with us. Come up with a whole lot of new angles. Yeah, Coke Zeros. That's a body style. For me, I told you guys many times, I'm working with a creative agency now. I'm still outperforming them, but actually this week they did find a winner that's starting to outspend my own creatives. I'll add a little creative breakdown at the end of this video. So we test about 30 concepts per week. Most are new concepts. Some are iterations. Yeah, just look at reviews, look at competitors, look at comments. You can find all kinds of different angles and ideas there, and then you can basically re-edit. A lot of the good creatives these days are just good edits. So a copywriter or someone that comes up with a good angle to sell and a script, and then an editor that knows how to make a creative that sells. What's the tips you have for someone who wants to leave the job and risk it all? Very general.
I would say burn the boats. If you want something bad enough, like, and getting started is probably the hardest part. You do have to just burn the boats. I genuinely keep saying it, but I'd probably go somewhere like Bali, which is the opposite of kind of NPC. I say that tongue in cheek, but it's also true. Like NPC UK mindset, where 99% of people have a normal job and think you're stupid for starting something. Especially when you get started, you won't know other people doing stuff. So you need to get out of your normal place and go somewhere where everyone is doing something similar, like Bali. That's what I did. I think ultimately you figure stuff out when you have to figure stuff out. And there's no one that's done anything that wasn't in a similar position to start with, unless they come from a rich family or something, which most people don't on balance. So yeah.
I think a pretty general truth that I've been holding myself onto, and I've repeated many times as well. The mosquitoes. If you want to risk it all, you probably want to do something different than the people like that are normal or doing normal things. Not saying it's good or bad. That means that whatever you're doing should be completely different from what they are doing. So if you look around and you can compare what you're doing to them, then you probably should think about if it's the right way to risk it all. Because you need to be back against the wall, like Matt says, and completely go for your own thing. Block out all the people that tell you are not doing the right thing. Because if you want something different, you need to be doing something different. Your inputs need to be different. So just go for it, believe in yourself, make it work, and then you can make it work. That's what we did. Coming to Bali for a month, how to get the best out of that time in terms of meeting people?
Get on Twitter. I think Twitter's a goldmine for meeting people. I really do. Get on every social media. Put some, have some sort of profile. Go to a co-work space. I met some good mates like Flores we were with last night. I met him in Tropical Nomad in 2019, which was like a proper nomad, low-scale nomad co-working space at the time. But join co-working spaces. Don't spend all day in a villa. Go to a cool gym. Ultimately, you'll meet people. Go to some sort of networking event. There's always something. And it's a momentum thing. Can't fucking speak. You meet someone, they introduce you to someone else, which is how I met most of my early network, was meeting one person, being introduced, etc., etc. So, yeah, get out of your comfort zone.
And then I think if you're going to be here for 1 month, you should kind of get rid of the thought that you're going to be very productive, because meeting people will be productive, even though it doesn't feel like being productive. So try to get to places like Matt said where you can meet those people, and don't worry too much about your productivity. Just try to get around cool people, and then you're out here in a month anyways. So then start to do like work again. But if you come here to meet people, then really meet people. When I came here in the beginning, like Matt says, I went to my gym. I think was damn near more expensive than my rent. Like I was staying in a shithole guest house, and I went to Body Factory. And in Body Factory, I started meeting the first like people because it's so expensive. Everyone in there was an entrepreneur. That was my reasoning. So I went there, start meeting people, and then like Matt says, friends of friends of friends. You just start to put yourself out there, and then at some point you kind of start to meet some like-minded people. But Matt, you're 28 now, and I'm a bit younger. So for me, it's actually for me it's actually only around now where I'm really starting to meet or be around the people and have the friends that I was looking for when I left out on this like adventure. So don't expect you to be a month in Bali and like have figured it out in terms of friends, because you have to like keep the momentum like Matt says and meet friends of friends, and then that way you get introduced to people that are like-minded and connect with you. More niche nerd one, how do you find a good supplier when there are thousands selling the same product? Is there something you went about, or was it luck, or?
I mean, it's different in the past because I used to always source from China. Now I make everything in the UK, so let's just assume you're sourcing from China. Basic shit is use like trade assurance and like gold rated suppliers on Alibaba. That's the first thing. The next step is getting samples. The next step beyond that is visiting them. I probably wouldn't do that straight away, but there's a lot to be said for like building relationships with suppliers, then you can actually trust them. I mean, there's so many fucking suppliers in China that there's probably 1,000 that could do something really well. You've just got to find the good ones and then pick one. There's not going to be one supplier that's better than everyone else. They might all say they are. But yeah, I'll just do basic due diligence. Don't pay by bank transfer to start with. I've done that in the past and got scammed. Pay on credit card, pay through Alibaba, get samples, try and get reviews or see who else they make stuff for, which is sometimes quite difficult. But yeah, just use common sense and yeah, order small amounts of stock to start with if you are doing that. I mean, basic shit really. I've never done anything super complicated, but I do think visiting suppliers is like the final step in finding like legit people.
Yeah, I went to China. That was a pretty interesting experience. That's how I did it. So what I did was I gave a little bit of the orders to different Chinese suppliers that I found. And then through like shipping times and fulfillment times, like saw who kind of the best one was. And then I gave them more and more work, and that's kind of how it started. Very general one. I'm not sure if you do, but best readings that you suggest or podcasts. Is there like in general one? I think you should listen to ours maybe, but
I actually don't read a lot, so I can't advise on that. I think Andy Frisella's podcast is the first one I ever listened to, MSCEO. It's got like 400 episodes. I think George Heaton said that's a great podcast as well. I used to listen to that when I was like 20. Other than that, I think go listen to the Midnight Pod every single episode. I think there's some gems in there. Other podcasts, I mean, for entrepreneurial ones, there's not that many good ones in my opinion. There's a lot of real fluffy ones. I think getting on Twitter, you can learn a lot from that because there's founders of 9-figure brands on there just like tweeting information for free. It's like the first generation where that's ever been a thing. But I would just say YouTube in general, although there's a lot of fluff on YouTube trying to sell you a course and lying about the realities of stuff to sell you that course. Probably more of that than there is genuine stuff. But yeah, I think Twitter's a goldmine. Some podcasts are good. Actually, the Operators Pod is really good, but that's definitely not for beginners. It's like higher level stuff because they're all like 9-figure brand founders. So you probably can't really relate if you've just started listening to that. But yeah, start with the Midnight Pod. Go from there.
start with the Midnight Pod and then start with my channel. And yeah, we're done. So I have one more I want to know, and then we're done. Start with Midnight. Start with my channel. Read Naval, the Almanac. It's like a general way of philosophy and life and business and things that will help you out a lot. I think that's it. Yeah, pretty cool. That's the last question. Only thing else, I DM'd you that I'll one day be on the pod. A long time ago. It's pretty cool, I think. Full circle.
The pod shrinking in view.
But I'm motivating Matt again to get on there, guys, so you should thank me. we did catch up again.
Right, and on that bombshell moment, I gotta go pack my bags, leave this beautiful place, and subscribe to the pod as always. More Doctor Journey coming soon. Episode 69 this has been, I think. We'll do more Q&As, maybe once a month going forward. Peace. Bosh.